No, yeah, no, it's great. It's great though.
Thank you.
So being that they did get a science video, you know, you don't get distracted by the math necessarily, but at the same time, it really helps to have someone who understands content.
Yeah, we got some feedback saying they would have preferred, or not preferred, but some people wanted to see what it was like coaching a math lesson, but
Well, now
it worked
we'll have
out.
both.
Yeah, that's what we were just saying.
So, should we start with some positives?
Before you do, I'm open to feedback on anything. I know that I asked for feedback on the student talk, which I'm still just not thrilled with. And anything else that you saw is fair game for me. I'm happy to hear it.
Some positive things I saw, I love how you praised them. You always had like a little, it was a different word each time too, where you were saying like, nice job or nice question, but you used different things rather than always saying like, amazing every single time or something like that. I loved all your examples. I think that my calc teacher probably gave us one and called it a day and said, here's your homework, but you gave example after example after example, so allowed the kids more practice time. And I like how you reinforced the use of vocab, and the kids were using it too, and they sounded really smart.
Yes.
Yes, they did.
Sorry, I forgot I was typing. And I also noted the specific praise. I thought that was good. It wasn't a generic, good job. It was very specific, and I think that does draw them out better. I also thought giving them time to think and also confer with their partner throughout the lesson, there was a little safety there for them. So they didn't need to feel like, oh God, I'm going to be wrong, I can't volunteer. I thought that was really great as well. I know how to do it. I'm sure I used to know, but I'd forgotten, and now I can do it. So I thought that was great. You taught someone who hadn't gotten any previous lessons that you've taught these kids. I mean, I'm not sure I know what an asymptote is, but you know, I got the rest of it. So, yeah, it was the ones, yeah. So,
You said that one of the areas that you would like us to look at was you were struggling to get students to talk, and talk that was really productive. And I saw a lot of great productive talk. Like, yeah, there might be some minor tweaking that we'll talk about, but as far as their groups go, that was tremendous. I've never seen students get excited about math like I just saw in the classroom. There was a girl that said, you brought up a graph, a red and a blue line. And she's like, that's sweet. So, what? And it was genuine. I overheard her. I was sitting right behind her. She's like, that's sweet looking. I was like, what? Oh my gosh. Man, I wish I had you for a math teacher.
Yeah, the kid sitting next to her kind of made fun of her, and she's like, what?
yeah. She's like, that looks sweet.
It's gotta be Sarah.
And yeah, all the same things. The reinforcement, compared to the last time I saw you teach, the last time we observed you teaching, you reminded me so much of myself, because it was like 90 miles an hour. And you like myself, need to like slow down. And this time, you just seemed so much more laid back, and there was like more time given to the kids to think. And it wasn't as rushed. That was great. That was really great. And I like when you address the one group up front, like, oh, well, they took all our ideas, but you're like, I'm gonna give you a pass. I like that way of saying it. I'm gonna give you a pass, and I'm gonna be right back at you on the next question or the next thing. And then you gave them some time to think about it, higher order questions, some more things to think about. That was fantastic. Yeah, I saw a lot of great things. The kids were all focused, and they were all invested in your lesson, which is great.
Yeah, I think I just witnessed a very safe classroom, calling the kids out by name. Each kid you got to by name, and that just does an awful lot. And there's a relationship there that makes the kids feel safe. I also focused on, like you were talking about, bringing in those conversations, and I absolutely love the yellow and the pink graph. And then when you had them talk about the commonalities, that made that question so much more difficult to look at the commonalities between the two, that I thought that was fantastic. And I loved how you let the commonalities lead you to the why question. That led to your instruction. I thought that was fantastic, where the kids brought the commonalities to the board, and then you asked why. And so that prompted your lesson to go. And I just thought, overall, I thought it was really, really a good way to bring the whiteboards in, to bring in the discussions, and I think you got those higher order discussions that you were looking for. I felt the
Yeah,
same way. I
absolutely.
felt like I was hearing conversations that were so far beyond.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that. You could tell that you were after the critical thinking, and
Yeah.
it was obvious even to someone that didn't understand the content.
I mean,
so
the
much.
differences are easy, but the commonalities, there was your why, there was your lessons. I thought that was brilliant.
Can I add one more thing I forgot to say too? You greeted the students when they came in by name too, and were seeking students, and I thought that was really added to your safe classroom.
Thanks. All right. I don't know, Bob, did you want to add anything?
Well,
I didn't want you to not feel
the
included.
thing that I liked was a couple of things. One was you redirected the questions. If a kid gave an incorrect response, you never said they're wrong. Does somebody else have a better answer? You always tell me a little bit about your thinking, and you redirect them to another area. And at the end, a couple of times you said to them, take a stand, take a stab at it. Doesn't make any difference if you get it right or wrong. We can always correct it, we can always figure out where you went wrong, which gives the kids a safety net. 'Cause sometimes it's not about getting it right or wrong, but it's about the process of thinking, which I thought that you really established there.
They don't want to make a mistake on the paper, and I can't get them to break them of that, which I've even, like, I make 20 extra copies. If you have to have it perfect, you can have another one, but they struggle, particularly in that class, to take a stand and screw it up.
So with that said,
This is what she's looking for, I know.
Wait, that's the fun part.
Transition statement.
I was thinking that, it is spinning off of the positives, and then you talking about how they didn't want to make a mistake. I was wondering if, when you were going through the examples, if you could have a kid come up and draw what they
That's
think it
exactly what I
is
was thinking.
on the board, and then when you go to put up
Your
the
stance.
right thing, you can show where their thoughts were different than what was the actual answer, where they were similar, and how you were saying, like, if you got this part, it would still be counted, but you missed this little part because. That also gets them more involved, and I would say you have a plethora of examples, you probably could get half the class up there at some point.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. Have them put it up and then match it against your answer when you advance your sliding. Yeah, right on.
I don't know why I didn't think to do that.
Well, that's why we're here.
Think about today.
You may have had a lot of things in your head, but I had a couple, were you done? with
Yeah.
yours? Okay. I had a couple of ideas, but I'm not entirely sure it's the right application. When I have the students doing a timed task, I actually put a timer. There's a website, Classroom Timers. I put it in our notes, but it's kind of nice to provide that urgency sometimes, especially at the beginning of class when they're just kind of coming in from somewhere else, maybe not entirely focused. But you were warning them. You gave them, okay, now you have about 1 minute left, and I thought that was good. When they're comparing their commonalities, maybe that wouldn't be the time to use a timer because that was a struggle. I don't know. I think they did a good job with it, but that was one of my suggestions. These are all positives. The two graphs that you gave the kids, and I don't know if this is a good idea for these specific ones, but when you put them both up on the board and started pointing out, the root and the min-max lining up, I actually picked mine up and they don't line this, because you drew it, I think. But I wondered.
It's because I used a marker to darken it. That's why they're off a little bit.
All right, because I thought
The
maybe
difference scale.
before, I don't think the scale's the same on the
One got
two of them.
shrunk.
You could superimpose
Yeah,
them.
but I thought, geez, before you show them the two overlapping, maybe have them, but not,
Like
you
with the
couldn't generate
transparency.
that right away, but just so they could see, like, oh, wait, look, they do line up, but then they could come up with, oh, one's a derivative of the other, because see the root and the max, and
That's a great idea.
I tried it, but it didn't, you did too.
Yeah.
It didn't line up, I'm like, oh, that would have been a really fun way to, before you put it on the
Figure out
board.
if I can get that done.
Yeah, you probably can't, but just a thought for next year even. And then I thought, so I made the connection with the function, when it was increasing, the y value of the derivative would be positive, and then so on. But I didn't see evidence that you knew the kids were making that connection right then. So I don't know if a think, pair, share kind of a thing might be good at that point to have the kids discuss. You led them there, and I think the kids got that because later they were drawing it, but I wondered if you gave them that time to actually turn to each other and say, you know, oh, I noticed that when the function is increasing, then, you know, the derivative is above the x.
That's an easy one to change and put into practice, like immediately next one too, like, all right, take that time to think, pair, share with your neighbor.
Put it on the whiteboard.
Mm-hmm.
So after they've compared commonalities
Uh-huh.
and we're regrouping,
Uh-huh.
and if they haven't given me, it's above the x-axis, it's below the x-axis, you're saying turn and talk right there?
Yeah, turn and talk.
Okay.
What's happening to the derivative when the function is increasing? Or what happens to the y value of the derivative when the function is increasing? Am I saying that right?
Yeah, no, I'm thinking about how I want to say, I think what I want to say is, what is certain about the y values?
Yeah.
Because they get wrapped up in the it's increasing, it's decreasing, which
When
it could
it's
be
really
to
just
anything.
about is it above or below the x?
Right, okay. That one I can easily throw in there. That's a good one.
And then when you handed out the individual practice before the homework, I think it was a timing thing. I was having a hard time trying it before you shared it. And I don't know if it was because I was typing at the same time, I'm not sure.
More time for practice?
Yeah, maybe they didn't need it, I don't know. You were watching them, I was trying it, so I couldn't tell.
I think having the kid go up and do it on the board gives
That
them
might,
more time.
that
to-
might,
Buy some
yeah.
time there,
that
too.
might
Because they
be-
don't necessarily
Plus, they don't know who
that
you're
that's
gonna
right.
ask, so they're gonna be more engaged in doing that. Not that they weren't, I was totally enthralled, so.
You're being very kind.
No, I was, I really was.
You asked for any suggestions on questioning strategies or grouping. And just to relate to struggling to get them all to talk, and I was keeping track of who was, even halfway through class, I kept a little tally, like, oh, this kid participated like 7 times since I started doing this. And there's your pockets of kids that really contributed. And you are the master of emerging questions. Like, that extend the thinking, that help scaffold the learning, but perhaps some more pre-planned, like big ticket questions. I didn't know on the paper, you were asking for them to graph the derivative. And so was your goal for each one of the graphs just for them to get the derivative, and your questions, the emerging questions, were helping them arrive there?
Yes.
Pretty
Well,
much the entire time?
The big goal for today was the roots of the derivative and above and below the x-axis, like to get that part of
Okay.
it right. And then as we go on, like the curvature of the original where it changes from concave up and concave down, if you remember that, that will tell you what the max and min of the derivative would be and even where that will be. But that's a lot at first. So today was like big picture, it's above, it's below, it's gonna cross here. And then as we go on, we'll put in the right curvature and all of that of the derivative.
So I kept hearing you say those same things over and over with the different graphs, like max, min, and higher, lower. Is that something maybe as questions could go on the worksheet? Would that help or no? Because you're
So you're
repeating
saying
that often each time.
scaffold, right on the worksheet.
Right on the worksheet.
So saying
and it might
where
only
is the
take,
max
like-
min?
It might just, and you wouldn't even have to necessarily put it on there. You could have the student write max, min, equals, and then you can run around and check and make sure each kid's on point rather
They've
than
got that
just
filled in.
the
Yeah,
open-ended
put it up on the
questions.
board
Put it up
rather
on the
than
board,
having to,
yeah.
yeah.
Because there's a lot
Then
of
you don't have to
open-ended
change your
questions,
worksheet if
and you
they
know
just
that
write it.
pocket of kids in the rear left get it,
Mhm.
and there's a couple over here that get it, but the center,
Center.
I'm wondering, and I'm watching, and I'm seeing some things, but I don't know. I can't tell if
That's-
they
you
are
know,
right on or not.
Another
And that's
thing
a
I-
simple, that's a
Yeah.
real simple change. You don't even have to make a change to your worksheet. You can just ask them, okay, I want everyone on this one to write min-max, or that might not be the right thing because I'm struggling with the content.
No, it's
But
fine.
whatever,
It's
you
fine.
want them to know, a quick one, and take that 5 seconds, everyone write down. And then you buzz around, you can get an idea who has it, who doesn't.
I struggle with that one, and I'll tell you why. Not that I won't put that on the board, and there's two things. I'm horrendous at board space, and I try to leave things deliberately up on the board that I want to refer back to, but at the end of the period, it always seems like it's a hodgepodge up there. So that's a struggle of mine. The other struggle I have is over scaffolding. And I never seem to get the balance quite right, is that I never want to say this is what step 1, step 2, step 3, because then I feel like I've done all the thinking
Mhm.
for them. That being said, for those pockets, they need a little more scaffolding than I generally provide for them. And then my way of addressing that is, am I not supposed to be responding now?
No, you aren't.
No, it's fine.
My way is running around and trying to do that for them on the spot, which is what you heard, me asking those same
Yeah.
questions again and again.
Yeah?
So maybe the happy medium is to just put those things up on the board and not even really, after the beginning, reference that and see if that does the
Yeah,
trick.
even
That's
if
what
it's
you're
just
saying?
even if it's just for one set, like in the beginning, because it seemed like
The first couple
early on,
examples.
which by the way, that was impressive. I thought it was just like a warm-up activity. Those kids came in and they were immediately like, go time and on point,
Those kids are
first thing in the morning. But, and it seemed like the morning was, okay, get your brains going, let's wrap our minds around what we were talking about. Maybe that'd be the time to call on those couple things and then let them go for the rest of the class.
Yeah, and I
Just
tried to
scaffold
do
the
that by
initial-
saying, what are the things
I don't
that you can write about on the graph, the max, the min, but I think you're right. I
Say
think
it.
if I put it up on the board.
Just with a
Next
couple
min, next to the
pre-planned
graph.
questions that are the
Right.
class, the day's objectives kind of questions.
I can easily do that.
I think my comments are going to mirror the same. You had real dominant personalities that came through and answered the questions and were on point. And then the section in front of me was very quiet, and I wondered if the one girl sitting to my left was even drawing on her paper. Now, I didn't get up and look, so I
Mhm.
don't know. But I felt like with me following your content and the kids doing the examples on the paper, I felt like it was very quick. Like I felt I needed a few more seconds to process.
Mhm.
So I think the idea of a think, pair, share, or put it down on a whiteboard, or you draw and then match, do you have the same picture of each other, and then you could call someone to the board and have them put their prediction before you advance your slide. I think then would take a different set of ownership onto the kids.
Check graph with each other.
Yeah, because then I know I do the same
Yeah.
thing. You get into the class and you got these objectives that you got to get done in 40
You're
minutes,
racing,
and
you're racing to get to the end.
you're pushing to the end. And that was something that you all had made aware with me, was, again, give those kids a try. You say, get a thought in your head, but sometimes my head plays music. And so-
Yeah.
and I need to be able to put it down on paper, and I'm wondering if there were other kids like that who were
Yeah.
thinking about spring break rather than
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
upper and lower limits.
What, question for you, how do you feel about, do you have assigned seats? Do you have any structure to who sits with who?
I do. And I've struggled with this. I like the pairs.
I always have too.
And I
Well,
know
I-
that everybody's about the fours, the groups of 4 and the Kagan grouping, and I've never been able to make that work to my liking. And I like pairs because I feel like you can't hide. So when there's a group of 4,
Yep,
and as much
I
as you
agree.
can structure, your elbow partner, shoulder, whatever, I still feel like when it's you and me, I have to talk. So that's why I do the 2s. And the groups, I select them on purpose by people who can work together and people who speak the same language. So if I were to pair myself up with somebody who is, a freshman algebra student,
Yeah.
I would be doing all the thinking and they would be nodding along. So I try to pair them, not so much by ability, because there's a bit of personality that goes into it.
Yeah.
Some people are more willing to take risks.
Yep.
And I change them up every 10 to 15 weeks.
So
And
you already
that
do
makes it
yeah.
work for me, But I would love, like, people rave about these groups of 4 and what they get out of them.
I have the
haven't
same
been able
problem,
to do
especially in
it.
8th grade. I have the same, once in a while, I'll put them in groups of 4, but I have seen arrangement the same way. The kids sit right next to each other in pairs. I was just asking, because of those students that seem to be sharing more, if you could pair them with some of the other kids that aren't sharing as much. But I'm glad I asked. I didn't think about either. We're down in Cattaraugus, where we don't have the diversity that you have either, and languages and different languages and things like
I just
that.
wonder
So
if you
I don't
put
know what's on
an oversharer with an undersharer, if the oversharer will be doing all the talking. and
They may do
working.
too much too. It's always
That's been my
it's always a
experience.
question.
And then it also, for me, I feel like in the growth mindset world, right, it reinforces that he's the smart one and I'm not.
Yeah.
Because they do all the talking and they're right.
Yeah.
And sometimes it works. Sometimes that does work out okay if they have a safe person and they do learn from them. And other times it just becomes, yeah, that's what I think. And
I
But
agree with you, because you're the smart one.
Yeah.
Right.
I use the Kagan grouping as well, but they are sitting shoulder partner with somebody who's of similar ability. And then we can on occasion, because we have tables like these, they just turn and work with the other pair.
around.
Yeah, if you needed more minds on something. I don't think pairs are a bad thing either. Most of the time, my students are working in pairs.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
I'll take this, please.
Okay.
Can
So-
I jump in just
Yeah,
with
go on.
just a couple things? First of all, my positive comments will be to the group. You guys are doing incredible work at helping each other. And the teaching was wonderful. Just a couple things I would like to add to the comments, just to more summarize, but also maybe add a little bit. It seems like you made it a goal to get through all of those graphs. And there's no way that you can do what was just suggested and get through all the graphs. So if you backed off and said, here are all the graphs, as opposed to putting them up there, giving them more as a packet, see how many you can get through. Because I think it was suggested that you maybe do a think aloud through one
Yeah.
completely,
Yeah, that's great.
giving all of your thinking. So it's more of a traditional, I'm going to do an example,
Model it.
then you're going to do these, and then hand it off to them. One thing I would maybe add to, and this comes from physics, so there's so many physics connections.
Oh, that's
here.
right. I,
Um,
oh, God. Yes,
Oh, here we go.
Ah, physics.
I didn't use the word velocity in position. I mean, that.
No, that's fine. It really has
No
to do with
vectors.
physics, but maybe including in your scaffolding, just for them to talk through the slope. So start from left to right and say,
Positive.
slope is positive, slope is positive, slope is zero, slope is negative, and just talk through it.
Yeah, Dave was
And then-
the same thing too.
I think that will help them focus on the slope, which is exactly really what you
What I want.
wanted to. It was interesting, I thought that many of them wanted to go straight to the algebra first and then work backwards.
Mm-hmm.
And this might help them focus more on the part that you wanted to focus on. So just those two.
And you wouldn't let them do the algebra, which was good. When
No,
they tried,
because they
you let 'em-
anchor themselves in
Right.
procedure,
Right.
right? Set it equal to zero.
You shut
They
that
don't know
down, and
why.
you pushed them back
It's
to-
because it's
Right.
flat. It has a zero
Right.
slope, which is why I try to keep bringing
Right.
that back.
Yeah, no, you kept bringing them away from that.
My last comment was, again, jumps off of many of what you said. Your scaffolding is really good, but they also know to expect it. And so sometimes I think taking away that scaffolding, and
Yes.
say, okay, she's not going to give me help here, and so now I'm going to have to
Take it
struggle a
away.
little bit more with my partner, because that was your goal, to get them to talk a little bit more, so
Yeah.
to back off on jumping into help too soon, and they'll learn that they have to.
And give the time on the grass. I think that would be
It really is
the
time,
best.
so if we could just expand it to 2 hours, I think. we'd be all
Yeah,
set.
right.
If I could just teach 2 classes all day.
Yeah,
That
exactly,
would- You do amazing things.
yeah.
So Dave, you're suggesting
Model the
Do,
first.
model
Model
it
first.
together, do together, and then let go, right?
Okay, and then
Sure.
how do you feel about, in the beginning, saying identify max, min, increasing, decreasing? Is that too much scaffolding? I'm just asking your opinion.
No, I think that's fine. I guess I would
Yours
just
on
start
the
with the
board.
slope first, just,
Slope first.
and then notice when it's a max min, the slope is 0, just to help them make that connection.
Is this too much, are you trying to change too much all at once?
Probably, but it's
What do
okay.
you
No, I
thi-
love
what do
this.
you-
This is great.
Because it can't, you know, it can't be stressful to you either.
No, it's not. This is, I don't find this stressful. I find this
Yeah, I
invigorating.
enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, if you're gonna go back in the next class and try and make all these changes.
Yeah,
Don't
don't,
know if you wanted to make one change or.
Can I, let me
or
tell you
pick
what I'm
one or
thinking
two,
about
or the
doing.
ones you feel comfortable with.
Yeah, think through it.
All
Let's
right, I'm
hear
gonna
it.
think through it. So I'm gonna start the same way with the pink and the yellow.
Mhm.
And I'm gonna make a list of things that we've talked about. And one of the things that I noticed is that only about 3 or 4 of the groups wrote down roots without me prompting them to do that. So maybe I'll put that on my list of things, because that's one of my big things that I want. So I'll say max, min, increasing, decreasing, roots, have them identify all those things on their graphs, then compare their commonalities, and then hopefully talk through the slope of the first, of the pink one, talk through the slope of all of that, and then, okay,
And then let them go for the others?
and then let them go.
Like
on the
just
Do
rest.
you wanna
group work
do,
and
do
you-
you wanna
And you
do
hop around and check in with
one
them?
on this sheet before you let them go? Or just this one? That was the handout they left with.
I
So
thought-
what
I
if,
thought
what if we
giving
just
them-
gave them the pink, they put the yellow one aside, and we talked through the slope of the pink one, and,
They could be labeling positive, 0, negative, 0, positive.
And everyone has it labeled. You can check to see if they all get it.
And then say, okay, let's look at the value of Y. Does that work?
so, okay, so then I'm just making sure I get these questions right. So then on the pink one, I'm going to say, slope here is positive. When I get to the yellow one, I will say Y values here are positive. And then,
What happened to the Y values
Yeah, That
here?
helped me
What
when
happened?
you put it together that way, like when you linked the slope to this slope.
Yes.
yeah.
That was really
That,
To the Y.
that worked.
To the
Yeah,
Y.
to
The
the
slope
Y.
Yeah, that worked
Yep.
for me. And I thought, I loved, I liked the fact that you had them predict. I just think you could make that prediction visual for the kids before you advance your right answer slide. And then give them some time, I think a little more think time to process the graphs individually before.
And it's okay if they
I
don't
felt
get
like
to
that
your
moved
favorite
pretty
one.
fast.
I know.
You
According
can
to
skip through a
Bruce.
couple of them to get to the end.
or you could tell a group, you could say, wow, you guys are
Wait,
really
let's
getting this,
let's
why don't
see.
you come to this?
Which one's the cool one?
I am like married to the clock, and like I
Right.
have 8 examples I want to get through, and I, come hell or high water, I'm getting through them, and I've been guilty of that my entire career.
You could use your favorite one as a one tomorrow.
It's a tough one though. Yeah, I know, I could do it tomorrow. I could do it tomorrow.
Yeah, it's your warm-up.
This is your warm-up.
Look at this
This
one.
is my favorite.
But I do think you just came around to boiling it down to the idea that it's about slope. Because at the end of the graph, you just said, I just want, first, is it above or below the Y? That was what you came to, above or below. And so it's connected to the slope. That seems to be the heart of what you're trying to get.
Positive and negative slope, yeah,
Yeah.
and time. All right, I do have a lot in my head right now.
That's why I asked
I
if
need to
there's one
use
thing
that.
Yeah,
that's.
I wouldn't really try and change too much, because you're not
No.
gonna get new copies,
Yeah.
you're not gonna do.
Yeah,
Too much,
don't
but,
try to make them overlay like,
Yeah, it's
it's
what it
not gonna
works.
happen.
Next time, maybe tomorrow. No, that's a great
No,
idea.
those
I
are
don't know why I
really
didn't think of
nice
that.
things.
That and bringing the kid up and bringing the transparencies. I don't know why I didn't think of that.
Yeah. But bringing the kid up is an easy fix.
Yeah.
That can come in
Yeah.
next class.
And knowing that you're not going to get to the last two examples because you're going to take more time.
We might
But
not
that's just-
get to those.
She's not giving it up. She's
That's
not
her
giving it up.
favorite. Don't
Those
mess
two
with
examples
favorite.
are tomorrow's warm-up to connect to the
All right,
lesson.
okay.
You don't get
With
to.
the
Alright.
favorite.
It's always good to over-plan, but don't commit.
It's a great lesson. It
Oh, I
is a
love
great
it.
lesson.
Yeah.
I
Them-
thought it was,
Those,
I love
they
it.
were all.
I forgot what a derivative was. Now I remember.
Your math teacher
Good job.
just died a little. Just so
Well,
you
he
know.
almost did a couple times, but,
Can I show this out?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay.